All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Misty Schulters, and I'm the Deputy Director for Michigan Works Southeast. My colleagues and I are so excited that you've chosen to spend some of your morning with us to learn about how we harnessed the elephant in the room. Now, I promise this is not a presentation on taming wild animals. However, the talent demand that we are all wrestling with can sometimes feel like a wild beast. All kidding aside, what we are going to share with you is how the growing talent needs in our community strengthen relationships with key partners, such as our friends in education and economic development. Together, we found innovative ways to collaborate on common challenges and develop sustainable solutions to improve the talent needs in our local region. It is our hope that after today's presentation, those of you in attendance are able to utilize the tools and lessons learned to implement a similar model in your area. By working together to optimize each partner's valuable resources, the talent needs can be tamed, leading to growth and prosperity in your region. I will now turn it over to the amazing team that is with me today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pam Gosla. I'm the Research and Education Manager for Michigan Works Southeast, and we're very happy that you're joining us today.
I'm Randy Agella. I'm the Director of Aligned Lenawee, which is part of the economic development organization in Lenawee County that represents our county.
Jack Townsley is my name. I'm the Supervisor of Placement Services and Adult Learning Services at the LISD Tech Center.
And you've met Misty, and unfortunately Michael was unable to join us today, but we'll hold up his side of the bargain here and make sure that we cover all of the important information that he was going to bestow on you today. The elephant in the room is the individualism we all come into each of our issues with. And we all have a set of strengths, but if you look at our overall desires as far as organizations and what are motivating forces for our missions and our values, it's very much aligned to one another when it comes to workforce development, economic development, and education. And thus, when we take and set aside the need to do everything independently and as an individual, we become a lion when it comes to economic drive and getting things done and leveraging resources, just as was presented this morning in the opening session. So hopefully by the time that this presentation is over with, you'll have embraced it and know how to get started.
So what I really would want to emphasize on this slide that you're visualizing is the fact that we do have a true partnership operationally and strategically between Michigan Works, our school systems, with the ISD, Lenawee Intermediate School District, leading that, and Lenawee Now. We think we're pretty far down the road in not only staying in our lane, but being able to stay in our lane and yet come together on some common areas of talent development, increasing the attraction and retention of employers in the county, and getting people to work and really placing them in areas where they can be successful. I think it's very interdependent. It's a great model. There's very little ego in this model. We've been able to have some pretty tough discussions about how we're doing things and where we're doing things. Lately, we've been able to co-market, which I think we're going to talk about later, so that our employers aren't getting information from all three of us on talent events. But out of this collaboration has been some great innovation. And you're going to hear about our work with some state grants. Jack's going to talk about our MICA success. I just want to add that I can always call Pam or Misty and get an immediate response from them if there's an employer in trouble, if we're looking at what we do in our talent development here through economic development. We are very focused at Lenawee Now on talent. We feel it's the #1 economic development issue challenge that we face. And we're really fortunate to be able to call Jack or call Misty and say, here's what's going on. Can we get together? We get together often. And Jack now actually is sharing 2 days a week in our office as we move ahead. So we really have like a dashed line in terms of our staffing. So I think with that, we'll turn this over. We are on this particular visual. We represent the economic development piece. And I'm going to talk about the end game over here on the right. We have an awful lot of commitment and partnership with our state and federal agencies outside of our Michigan Works or organization. We include the USDA, we include the EDA, U.S. Department of Commerce, Michigan Economic Development, MDARD, Detroit Regional Partnership is a partner of ours. And in terms of employers, we all access our employers to assist us in course design, certification design, give us their hot spots, their hot jobs, all kind of inputs into where we are as a partnership group. So I didn't know if Jack and Pam want to add, or Misty want to add anything to the educator or workforce piece.
I think one of the primary things that we can add to this is that we found in our working relationship that once we can set aside our egos and set aside the fact that we all want to claim some success, that the success becomes multiply higher when we all work together, because we have more resources available and we truly are doing it under our mission to connect and make things better for our communities. Our employers, yes, we all represent employers one way or another, but we touch them in different ways. And once we can take and work together on how we actually do that touch, where we're coming from, it makes a far stronger case to our employers to say, you know what? I like this idea because I'm not going to 3 separate entities to get done what I need to get done. I'm going to one, and it's really much more time effective for them. Plus the outcome is 10 times better.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in that we all realize that each individual organization has their own metrics to meet, their own agendas, but we try to put that aside as much as possible and work on that common area that we all have overlapping responsibilities and customers and things like that. It's that real common core area that where we find the strength.
I think my final comment on this piece too is that rural communities, which we have in not only in Lenawee but Washington or Hillsdale, we really have extra challenges in terms of our workforce and getting our workforce up to date on their talent and skills. So if we did not have this partnership, I don't think any one of the organizations could reach where we need to reach on getting folks ready for our employers. On this compilation of services, Lenawee Now is the economic development group, as I mentioned, that we represent. The things I like to highlight in here is we have created a couple things with our schools. One is that we are sending our navigators into the school. We have navigators on staff that are working with the teachers to bring employers in to make presentations about the skills they need and the talent they need. The other, although the pandemic kind of dented this, we're getting back to it, is taking students out to employers on a systemic basis with their parents to talk about what actually goes on. I'm sure you've heard this already a few times today, but the students really have a poor conception of what jobs are in our county and what they actually entail. Jack can tell you in our chemical industry, parents think, it's dark, dirty, dangerous. It's actually the opposite of that. Kids that want to go into teaching are discouraged sometimes that it's not a great profession, but it is, and on and on. So we're really trying to get the kids out, the employers in. And in that effort, Michigan Works has actually made some of our presentations on soft skills and other things. So really blessed, I think, to be able to reach out to Jack or reach out to our work center here in Michigan Works and be able to say to them, we're working with this school district, where can you help us? And you don't see it here, but we are going to have a career conversation again with our students, third year in a row, where Michigan Works, the ISD, and Lenawee Now put that conference on. So we are very focused on retention and attraction of employers, putting out their fires. But when it comes to talent, these are the things that we're really incentivized to do because we want our employers to succeed, really focused on recovery and sustainability at this point.
And some of the things that Michigan Works has been able to bring to the table and learn about through this combined effort is where there's some gaps in service and who can fill those gaps. One of the biggest issues that we found, for example, is the Michigan Works agency in the Southeast, our particular 5-county area. We actually serve in 3 of those counties as an adult education provider. And with that being said, we found out that we had a number of individuals that would have liked to have been employed by some of the larger employers in Lenawee County. However, they could not go to school and work at the same time without having something give. And so consequently, we as the adult ed provider said, let us put our programming for adult ed in your location. And therefore, the person is not having to make 2 stops. They're able to come into work a half an hour earlier and be able to do some of that work towards getting that terminal secondary certificate that they need to move up and within the company. The company has gained greater popularity with the employers or with the employees because they're willing to assist their employees to better themselves, and the employees are willing to work for that company and desire that company because they're investing in their workforce. So it's issues that may not necessarily usually bubble up, but we find out when that working in conjunction with one another, where a gap may exist and how we can take and address that. When we did come together, basically what we did is we sat down and we said, okay, what can the economic developers bring to the table under this particular issue? What can workforce development bring to the table? And what can the ISD bring to the table for the K12 system? And how can those 3 entities working together be able to address those problems? And as you can see, we literally spelled it out so that everybody knew where they were coming from. And we didn't have so much tendency to overlap somebody else's services. And Jack has done the same thing with the ISD, and he's been able to flourish with that. So Jack, what do you have to say?
Well, the ISD and everybody sees our tech center. We have 26 CTE programs, career and technical education programs, covering areas of in-demand occupations, anything from biochemical technology to multiple different healthcare programs. We have collision repair with automotive services, welding, machining. There are millions of dollars invested in our tech center here, and that's really what most people know the ISD for. But we do a ton of other things. We have work-based learning, obviously, with our tech center programs. Our students go out on co-ops from the welding program. They're going to go out and do a co-op in a welding shop here locally, and same with all the other programs. But we also, as a service to the other districts, there are 11 other districts in Lenawee County. We kind of facilitate the work-based learning opportunities for those districts. So we provide facilitate the paperwork and site visits for that to alleviate that burden from the local districts.
And this can take and speak to the point of how the businesses come into this through the Michigan Works Agency, and how we take those individuals who have their criminal secondary certificates.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So we, through the collaboration that we have with the Tech Center, when Jack has a team of students that have gone through and received their certification, we connect them with local employers that are looking for those types of individuals and can then utilize WIOA funding to be able to really help that individual get their foot in the door, and for that employer to be able to onboard one of those new students. So it's really a great collaboration to fill that talent need.
Yeah, and we could, I don't know if we even mentioned the reverse job fair in this presentation, but we will now, because it is an event usually late April where graduating seniors and some juniors looking for a co-op are basically put on display for local employers. A lot of times they will walk right out of the reverse job fair into a full-time career, and that's very much in partnership with Michigan Works and also the Lenawee Now, our economic developers. It's an event where we all pull employers together for. So
Jack, I'm sorry, real quick, what I want you to share is the baseball card. So instead of like the standard resume, we get the kids excited about being able to demonstrate their skills on a baseball card. And what a great time when when the reverse job fair is late spring as baseball is starting to gear up. It's just really a neat thing that gets the kids excited about sharing their skill set.
Yeah, I just grabbed one. But yeah, it's an event where the students are behind the table. The students are set up with samples of what they do. So if it's a welding student, they'll have samples of their welds. We invite employers to come in and tour the event, and we'll get 50 or 60 employers coming through, and the samples of the welds will give them an immediate opportunity to engage the students and talk about that. And as Misty was saying, we created, and this will come across, a baseball card with an action shot on the front of whatever their career path is, them involved in that, and then on the back are their stats. So attendance and certifications and things like that. It was something we came up with years ago, and it employers get a kick out of that. They still keep the baseball cards on the corner of their desk, and they'll call me up. Hey, this kid, so-and-so, I'm looking for a welder. Is he still available? Which unfortunately, most of them within a week or two of the reverse job fair, they're all working. So. But yeah, we do a lot of things, adult learning services. We also have programming for adults in both vocational and enrichment. So we can help fine tune some adult skills in healthcare and some of the other, machining or welding, those types of things. We also do career prep services for the rest of the county. And another thing, we have a community foundation where we have given away for years thousands and thousands of dollars of scholarships for students graduating from Lenawee County schools that are going to college. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we came up with a job readiness scholarship. And it's the Ron Reeves Job Readiness Scholarship. So an individual that may be working as a waitress that wants to become or get into the medical field, this scholarship helps them pursue programming to get them ready for a higher level employment. So not just college scholarships, but now workforce scholarships. So those are some of the things we do.
It's all great, but the biggest question that we often have to contend with is, when do you know how to pull everyone together? And Jack's the expert at that one.
Well, let's, Pam, go back. I do want to make a couple of points on the template here. It is important to effectively work together. You need to understand the capabilities of your partners. And that's really what this template is. It's an asset map. And it's important that you know the capabilities, what they can do and what they can't do. And without that deep understanding of your partner's capabilities, you're never going to be able to work effectively together. It's a living document because your capabilities, as you know, grant funding comes and goes, and different programs come and go. So it's kind of a living document. One thing you never want to do is go out and promise your partners services. You want to go out and say, hey, I may have a resource for you. Let me make a phone call and bring in my partner. But you never want to promise their service for you. But it's great to understand what the assets are in the community so you can pull the right things together at the right time. And then on to the next slide. That is kind of the crux of it. There's a lot of things we do as individual organizations where we do it as an individual organization without the input of the partners. But there are times when we just can work more effectively together to solve a problem or remove a barrier. And it's unfortunate that in many regions around the state, and I've been in workforce development and education for a lot of years, and you can tell with the gray hair, there are still many organizations around the state, or many areas or regions around the state, where the workforce developers, they don't know who the economic developers are. The economic developers don't interface with the educators. And that's unfortunate because bringing those organizations together really brings a synergy, and it's, you know, the sum is greater than the parts type of thing. If you all are on the same page working together, really three legs of a stool that need all three legs to support that. I look at it as kind of a Venn diagram, and the overlapping diagrams of economic development, education, and workforce development. That center spot is where we can work effectively together. We all have complementary toolboxes. We can pull from each other's toolboxes, and you know, we talk a lot about braided funding. We're talking about braided services where we can sit at a table with economic development, education, and workforce development and say, I can contribute this. I can help here. I know someone that can bring something to the table there. It's very powerful when you can do that on a regular basis. We all have employers as a common customer. And that's really the strength of this, is to have, as Randy put it, one point of contact, where employers can engage one organization and really have the power of multiple organizations. Again, kind of a no wrong door approach. It's worked very well here. It's not always easy. You have to be willing to give and take, and it's not about credit. It's not about that. It's about getting the job done for both the job seekers and the employers.
Yeah, I think to Jack's last point, our employers in particular don't really care how we help them get to the solution. It's not a bragging point for us. We want to get to their solution and keep them here or attract them here. On most of our attraction projects, all of them, we are working with Michigan Works and the schools to say, here is, if you bring your company here, here's the training system you'll come into. Here is the help you're going to get from Michigan Works. We don't promise, as Jack said, exactly what Misty or Pam can do, but we know enough to say with some confidence, here's what we can do in your attraction effort. So that's really a key point. This value proposition, these aren't just numbers grabbed out of the sky. They are numbers that represent the program value, financial value, the funds that we contribute, and the staff time that's contributed to this partnership in our region. So the most confidence I have is to speak about Align Lunaway. We are we compete for workforce grants, training grants, recovery and resilience grants. We ask Michigan Works if they can leverage funds. So when we went to the Michigan Industry Cluster Approach program, Pam and Misty were able to say, here's what you can leverage on the job training and incumbent workforce training. Pam with adult education funds, Jack with that. So when we say $20 million, we're taking currently about $2 million in grants that we've won, applied to develop a talent pipeline. And the reason we're talking about $20 million is we've had enough conversations with employers to know that the assistance that we provide to their bottom line is worth about 10 times the investment. So we actually had someone come to our board and present to our board and said, you've invested $1 million in our company in the last X amount of years. And we recognize that as a $10 million value added proposition to our company. We're not spending our own money on the training. We're gaining skills where people are more competent, we're more competitive. We're able to continue to bid on new product and so on. So Jack, I didn't know if you wanted to quantify any more your numbers. I know that they have to do with facility value and staff value and equipment value.
It basically is our general services budget for the CTE programming and CTE programming and general service annual budget. And it's hard to quantify because, like I said, the capital investment in our building, when you're talking about 10 CNC machines and there's millions of dollars worth of equipment that the ISD has invested in over the years that's available to help develop the talent pipeline in Lenawee County and the surrounding regions. So, but that's where I came up with that number.
Misty and Pam, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to your number.
Our number comes from the amount of supportive services and training funds that we've allocated to personnel to get the added training and also have the positive outcomes in our workforce development programs. I think the other point that needs to be made is that, just as both Randy and Jack have said, we can't 100% quantify a lot of the value, simply because the value is that employers are embracing what we can do as a team rather than what we do individually, and serves as a frustration to many of our employers. They appreciate the fact that, again, no wrong door, we come together, we get the job done, and they're willing to take it to the next level and even make investments in that training or in that the need for new equipment. They help focus what we need to do to train to make sure that we are adding as much value as is possible.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would jump in and add here is that, to echo what Pam said about it, is hard to place a value on that holistic approach that we all take to making sure that that individual is prepared for that employment opportunity, from the employability skills to the credentialed training, but then also when you're speaking with the employers, helping them understand how fully prepared that individual would be for their workforce, so that then they are sustainable. And that cost in not having to the turnover cost alone, when you have a prepared workforce, is a hard number to quantify. So,
in the development of our mutual interests, we really work hard on our talent pipeline. And at Align, we're really focused now down on certifications and badges. We're working down to 7th grade. We understand the 60 by 30 focus of the governor. And what I'd like to talk about is the recovery pieces of this and the K12 pieces of this. Actually, I'm going to start on the K12 side. Our career con is a career conversation with students, with employers, and Michigan Works and the ISD, our K12 systems represented. We had about 31 employers lined up just before the pandemic to talk with the students about careers in the county. I want Jack to talk about reverse job fairs in a second, but the other piece in this list I'd like to highlight is we have invested in externships for our teachers and counselors. Our counselors is a 535 students per counselor ratio. So our counselors are really under the gun. I think the ratio for the state is 721 students to each counselor. So we are trying to help our counselors as much as we can and our teachers. So we offer with the ISD an externship program where a teacher or counselor can sign up for a 2-week experience at a local employer. We pay for that through a grant. Jack or Pam, you're gonna have to help me with the continuing credit terminology. Sketchies are provided. We had a couple great experiences this year. One of the teachers did a 27-page PowerPoint with her work at ProMedica Health Systems this year. She's very up about taking that experience back to her students and explaining about healthcare and the careers. That's exactly what we want. So Jack, could you mention your reverse job fair?
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit, but it basically is an opportunity for employers to come shopping for talent grown right here in Lenawee County and coming through the tech center. We've got, I think, 9 programs that have participated in the past, 9 of the 26. And we do other things for some of the other programs. Basically, it is a connection between students that are ready to graduate and employers ready to hire. And it's been a very, very effective event. Last year, we had to do it slightly differently, obviously, with the pandemic. But we're looking to be in person again this year. And we've already had employers calling about when's the date for the reverse job fair.
And you had kids hired right there.
Right on the spot. Walk right out of the tech center, right into a full-time career. Yeah.
So under recovery, what I'd like to focus on is Neighbors of Hope. I'm going to ask my peers here for some help with this, but we were approached as the economic developer by Neighbors of Hope, which is a service for folks that are working with addiction. They are housed with Neighbors of Hope, and they approached us and said, we'd like to get a training system started to help them re-engage on employment opportunity. The first call we made was to our Michigan Works friends and Jack. We met as a team and talked with their director. And again, if anything crystallizes our presentation, it's this kind of response. It was immediate. It was full engagement. It was full commitment of our peers. And instead of this group creating their own training experience with their own cost and own certifications, funding was offered up for adult ed opportunities to get folks what they needed in terms of their basic education or other. Safe environments to start people back into their employment was offered by Goodwill here. So they had a safe work environment to go back to. We designed in, Jack facilitated this, returns back to Neighbors of Hope if people had slid back in their program, which happens sometimes in an addiction situation. Michigan Works stepped up and said, we're going to take those folks from a safe work environment and get them employed and use our funding for that on the job training. And we had set this model up and we're ready to hit the start button about a week before the pandemic, and it hit. We are re-engaged in this model and we're going to get this reestablished. But here again, we are looking for untraditional populations as well as traditional populations. Our labor force participation in Lenawee County is about 65%, which means about 35% of the adults who could work do not. We're not judging it. We're just saying we need them. During the pandemic, that went down to 58%. So any group of folks that are happy to re-engage. We're going to engage them. And Jack, I guess your comments to this, Pam's or Misty's?
Well, I'll start. Yeah, we got together and listened to what the issues were and what the population's barriers were, and basically created a 3-tier system of very sheltered and supported services to increasingly independent services. And obviously the end result we're hoping is full-time, steady employment. But we also started looking at housing and financial literacy and some of the other issues, and that's where we start pulling in the appropriate partners to add services, kind of layering services on top of services. And when I talked about the braided funding, this is an example of braided services where we can take a common population and really braid services together to help them meet their end goal.
I think the only thing I would add into that is that each one of those phases had an assessment piece where we ensured that the individual was ready to progress on to the next level. Because the worst thing that we can do is push them through a phased plan and they're not ready. They don't have housing in place, or perhaps they're still struggling with some of the components to addiction. And so by bringing the partners that Jack and Randy mentioned together, we were able to really provide that holistic assessment so that they were ready. They were just more prepared for each of those phases that they transitioned through. So it is exciting, and I am looking forward to getting that going again.
Great point.
This also served as a replicable model because we've now had the ability to apply the same principles and the same structure and organization to one of our other counties as they're working with the recovery population. And so they're in the initial phases of replicating what has already been created in Lenawee County.
So where are we? The 60 by 30?
We're moving into 60 by 30. And obviously for most of the individuals who are probably involved in this, the governor's plan for the 60 by 30. And some of the ways that we've taken and embraced that vision is through, for example, the Marshall Plan, which Lenawee County was very, very aggressive in their assertion of some funding through the Marshall Plan to actually go down into the K12 system and develop some pilot schools and pilot projects, which have set the tenor for the rest of the county in developing a pipeline for students in career interests at an early age and moving them on towards success. Future for Frontliners is the state's program that has been fully implemented, obviously, and is pulled through in Jackson County or Jackson College within Lenawee County. We do look at the state initiative for college access, but Lenawee also recognizes very strongly that it may not be that everyone needs a college degree, and they fully support those more skilled, those occupations requiring greater skill sets that are not necessarily in conjunction with a college degree. So they hold very firm to the fact that they're going to take and support those quality building skill sets within the operation and training programs available to their clientele and community. Probably one of the most aggressive things that is afforded to this particular area is our ability to benefit, and not very many counties in the state actually take and use this particular option for individuals who are going to college. We have worked out with Jackson College that we have a number of students who are within a semester or two of completing their high school equivalency or gaining their high school diploma through adult education programs, and also want to start immediately on their career development through the college. An ability to benefit allows them to both work on their secondary credential while they're also starting on their career credential with the college. And we found it to be very, very beneficial in Lenawee County, getting people engaged at an early stage. Obviously, we have the Going Pro for our employers that if they want to train their incumbent workforce, we have the ability to help and assist with that. And now is the time to take and get those training funds allocated to our employers so that they can upskill and remain competitive in the global marketplace. And SAE, the state apprenticeship expansion, we actually, for our counties, have one of the few that actually addresses youth apprenticeships and the pre-apprenticeship piece. So we're building down on that pipeline to engage students much earlier rather than waiting until they actually are out of the K12 system. And case in point becomes the MICA grant.
And I'll touch on the MICA grant. Basically, the MICA grant, the Michigan Industry Cluster Approach Grant, was mirrored after the U.S. Chamber of Commerce initiative on talent pipeline management. And I was fortunate enough to attend the training a few years back and become a certified TPM purveyor. And we in Lenawee County had been working with 5 different chemical companies, each individually, but through the MICA grant, we were able to pull this collaborative together. And again, the tenets of talent pipeline management is to treat your recruiting and hiring like a supply chain, where most employers know right back to raw material stage, everything that goes into their final component. They know the supply chain. They facilitate the supply chain. They know who their suppliers are, and they work with their suppliers. But when they hire, they just hang a sign on the wall that says, now hiring welders, or put a sign out in the yard, now hiring welders. And Randy always gets a kick out of this when I say that Adrian Steel, one of our local shops, would never hang a sign on the door that says that we need steel and expect steel to show up. It just doesn't work that way. You got to cultivate the supply chain. So this approach says treat your recruiting and hiring processes the same way. And it also, the second tenet is to bring employers together with a common heartburn in talent and have them work together on it. So we pulled together initially 5 hotels in hospitality and worked together with Michigan Works and Lenawee Now. We actually pulled together a hospitality hiring extravaganza for them to hire, and they walked out with almost 100 applications. And these 5 hotels were just flabbergasted to get that many applications, that many people showing up for a hospitality hiring event at Michigan Works. The most successful has been our chemical collaborative. We have brought together those 5 chemical companies, and they've been working over a year now on, instead of, they all hire from the same pool of people. So instead of fighting over pieces of the pie, let's make the pie bigger. Let's broaden the talent pipeline. Let's interest more people in working in the chemical industry in Lenawee County. And we've worked together, Michigan Works, Lenawee Now, and the ISD to help do that with these companies. And one of the initial things that they said was, we have a marketing problem. People don't want to work in the chemical industry because, as Randy pointed out earlier, it's dark and dirty and dangerous, which it is not. It is a very safe environment. It's a clean environment. But we had to change some perceptions. So they created a series of videos on promoting the chemical industry. And you'll see a trailer of one of those videos here in a few minutes.
This is just to show how we've kind of come together to take and promote opportunities that we worked on together as a triad of supporters of the issue. My career quest obviously is bringing manufacturers and employers to the table. CareerCon, Randy has spoken of. Manufacturing Day, Jack definitely is very invested in terms of getting his CTE students involved. And the reverse job fair. We have Going Pro, basically for our employers to be educated that they can not also devote funds to training their incumbent staffs. And we also have a newsletter that goes out that we share information from each of those three entities, from our workforce development, our economic developers, and the ISD, that are a common interest, that so that we don't just put out what is our news, but what is the community news, and what's going on, and how can these initiatives be helpful.
Could I just add a comment there, Pam? One of the things in working on talent in the last 3 years with such a focus. So there's two things in this. One, we have to be pretty clear with our partners so that we invest their time wisely and their resources. So that communication, we need to always be clear with each other. And the second is to students, teachers, and employers, parents. It seems like the simplest message is the best. These organizations and people are being overloaded with responsibilities and messaging. So we've really worked hard to send out some common marketing information, shared marketing information, so we're not overburdening our partners outside of our group. And also the messages, we work hard on what we're saying so that they're simple messages and people can understand how to access us, how to get to that no wrong door model Jack mentioned, and that we're here, we're a friend. I don't know how many partnerships like ours work so hard to make sure people know that we're real people, we're friendly, we're really trying to help. And I think that's really important if you're going to move ahead in your geographic area together, is that you adopt that value system and that attitude. So.
Okay, and this is, again, an example of one of the videos. And now the MICA grant was a grant that was obtained by Lenawee now, but they've got me facilitating the meetings with the group. Michigan Work has been there. In fact, we did a virtual job fair for the group, and we put together 3 videos. One is just a general overview of careers in the chemical industry in Lenawee County, featuring all 5 companies. And then there's a second one that is on various different career paths in the industry. And the third one is women in chemistry, women in the chemical industry. And so the second 2 are in draft stage right now, but it'll be released soon. This is a trailer. This is, the original is 8 minutes. This is, I think, a 2-minute trailer from the first video. But it's an example of what we did as a group in partnership to try to help this group of employers.
Chemistry is used for everything. It's everywhere. The world around us.
We are creating the products that are going to keep us safe tomorrow.
Really, when you look at what we're doing, we are providing a service for society.
With chemistry, what's really interesting is I love answering the why. Like a simple thing is like adding Kool-Aid to water. How does this mixture automatically disappear and you get a new color and you have all these flavors incorporated? It was something that just fascinated me.
Even if you're not interested specifically in the chemistry aspect of industry, you can be interested in maintenance, you can be interested in working in an office, or just quality control, which is still hands-on.
I was a little bit skeptical about working with chemicals, but after going through the interview process, going through the training, I knew that this company was doing things the right way, they're doing things safely, and I was more than excited to jump on board and make a movement to come here.
This is not just a job. the career for you. This is if you want something to work in a place where you can be successful and keep growing. We do have the tools. We do have the knowledge.
A person can start out as an intern or they can start out as a chemical operator, but really their ability to see their future is unlimited.
We work and live in Adrian and Lenawee County. For a county of 100,000 people, we've got a huge impact in the world. People don't realize the impact of what we make in this county in the business of chemistry, how it affects people, and how it touches all their lives.
If you want to help making a difference in the world, working in the chemical industry is definitely one of the best areas you could be at.
I believe that the future is bright and
Thanks so much.
going to be brighter here in Lenawee County. Go team.
Okay. Doesn't want to go any further, guys.
Try clicking in the white space next to the video player there and then clicking next.
How many 60?
Whoops.
That's cool.
Well,
That's a lot.
and now we're back. Basically, we've told our story and we're here to help. If hopefully anything that we have presented has sparked an interest in your community or your partners to try and unite together to deal with some of the issues that plague your particular area. One of the toughest things is just getting started. And so we wanted to make sure that you recognize that if you are interested and have found something that's kind of set off some interest for you, we're here to help. And we've got our contact information listed. We're more than willing to answer any questions, and we can do that. We have a few minutes left, but also we thoroughly encourage you to get a hold of us, and we'll tell you how to start.
So Pam, I want to add to that for a second. Our boss here at Lenawee Now, Jim Van Doren, actually invited all of our school districts and higher education partners and businesses into a large meeting and said to them, if we did not work collaboratively on talent, we might as well shut down our economic development effort, because so much of our future depended on talent, not cement, not driveways, not energy costs, not all the things that we traditionally competed with, but talent. If you need a bad guy, and I've been around the state doing some consulting, sometimes communities don't want to say, get together and confront this, that you got to work together. If you don't, you're not going to get there. You're not going to solve the talent issue. If you need a bad guy to come in there and do that, Jack's willing to do that. Aren't you, Jack? Yeah, there you go.
I could always be
I'm
available.
certainly willing to do that. I'm certainly willing to go in and say, if you don't work together, you will not achieve what you need to in talent for your community. So if you need that third party, Pam will drive me up and Misty will go along and Jack, and we'll just tell it like it is. Sometimes you got to do it that way.
Well, and I think another point too, Randy, is we were in a crisis mode when it came to the chemical industry. We were in a position, and have been for the last few years, of them saying we either have to find a way to resolve this talent recruitment issue, or we're going to have to get out of the business here because we're that short on talent. And so, what this proposition and this effort has done is, number one, it's addressed that issue immediately, but it also has made a few other companies sit up and take notice before they get to that point. They know they've got a pending issue. We always data driven. We look at the aging workforce and say, you've got some things to look at here as a community, and how are you going to address them? Let's not wait till it's in crisis mode.
Alrighty, so we have a few minutes for questions. We had a couple come through over the course of the presentation. The first, this is regarding the needs assessment that you showed earlier on. Do you share this assessment map with the other community partners, or keep it within so that all team members know who to connect with?
Well, I could touch on that. It is mostly for internal use. It is just so you know the lay of the land, you understand the ecosystem that you're working in. The reason it's probably not best to share out to the broader public is it's a living document. It's changing all the time. And it's more a reminder that you need to understand the assets in your community than it is a published document.
Alrighty, and one more question. So how do teachers or case managers at Michigan Works know to connect the person needing services?
Well, if we have navigators that are part of our local college networks that we have a very close working relationship with. Actually, we even have FERPA information that is shared with the exclusion. We've done the ability to share data and information piece. We also make sure that when it comes to planning and educational opportunities or employer needs, that we make the frontline staff, both within Michigan Works and with our teachers, aware of what opportunities exist. We're around. I think that's the best way of saying it. They know that there are resources and people that they can go to that maybe they don't know exactly what it is they're looking for, but they know who they can go to find out if there's something to address the issue. Our adult education programs are co-located so that they're in our Michigan Works centers. And we also have instituted a career plan that follows their academic plan so that all of our adult education students actually have to do a career interest survey, and we then contextualize all of their academic programming while they're involved with us to make sure that we can refine their job interest and make sure that if there's any available training opportunities that come to light during their time in their adult education program, that they are able to take advantage of that.
And Tom, I want to add that we have navigators from Lenawee now in the schools. So we send our newsletter, we share social media all the time. We are always saying to our K12 partners, here's who we're working with. We're here to help. We're here to talk to your teachers, your students, your counselors. So,
Randy, another point to add is that the communication is critical. In fact, we're in the process of scheduling a strategic planning between Lenawee Now and our career prep folks, because we have career prep folks that are out in the districts. That's their job from the ISD, is to go out and do career preparation activities. But with the navigators out there, we want to make sure we're working at, our compasses are aligned. We're not working at cross purposes with each other or stepping on each other's toes. So the communication, when you are trying to work together with braided services like that, is very important that one hand knows what the other hand's doing.
Yeah, I just was going to weigh in kind of on that same point, Jack, that this partnership that you see amongst the four of us is occurring between the career navigators that work with Align Lenawee and the career prep instructors from the Tech Center, along with the Michigan Works case managers. And so they're collaborating and partnering together to ensure that everyone is aware of who to connect when they're, working with a student that might need additional services. They know who to connect them with. So it's again about that communication and that partnership.
Alrighty, perfect. So that pretty much does it. We just ran out of time here. So this ends the presentation for today. I would like to thank all of our presenters, and then we appreciate everyone's time. I hope you got some great takeaways from this, and enjoy the rest of the conference. The exhibitor/networking break is up next. So take some time after this session to video chat with the exhibitors and watch their informational video. You can also check out the networking tab to be randomly paired up with another attendee for 2 minutes of a virtual chat. On that note, have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.